I, you know the old saying, I'm at a loss for words? I'm feeling that so strongly right now, but at the same time, it's like the complete opposite as well. I can't even begin to spew out the words I have in my brain and that want to come out of my mouth right now because this is a load of bullshit. I with YouTube right now, I feel like I've been away for a while. I've been posting things here and there, but I just regular YouTube for me is it's been a while. Did IQs just sharply drop when I was away? Like I actually can't fucking believe this. Seriously, like. Okay, so I was going to edit my review of Dune tonight, which is some 45 minutes of raw footage. Wouldn't take very long, but that was kind of my task for tonight, and now I'm doing this. And I haven't shaved, my hair's a mess, and I had to make this video. And it's maybe a terrible idea, but I can't. I need an outlet. I can't just tweet about it and say that I'm pissed off. Like, my blood is boiling, And it's this weird thing, like, hey, look, Last Jedi, right? My favorite film of all time is The Last Jedi. That gives you a basis there if you come into my channel for the first time. One of my other all-time favorite films is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. My taste in film is very broad, to say the least. And I would not say to anyone that Star Wars The Last Jedi is one of the greatest films ever made, but so subjectivity, objectivity, I'm all about that kind of stuff, but this is mental. This is fucking nuts. So, oh man, it's depressing at the same time. That's why I just had to make a video about it. So again, the bootleg lighting setup, the camera's not even framed properly, propped up on 27 Blu-rays. Let's just get into this. Fuck. So Odeon, our fine friends at Odeon, they did a screen unseen tonight, which would be the 15th November 2021. The secret is out. Tonight's screen unseen was Petite Maman, Celine Sciamma's modern fairy tale. What did you think? Give us your short but sweet reviews down below. And I thought, oh, that's nice. And I was, I loved the film. And it was nice to see that was one of the films that was, it's kind of a mystery screening. So, people who really love movies, they go along and it's kind of like, I think it might be a Limitless exclusive. So if you're like signed up to their Limitless service where you pay a monthly subscription, you can see as many films as you want, similar to Cineworld's Unlimited card, which I've been a member of at varying different points throughout my life. I think back in 2009 was the first time I got one. And then in 2018, I came back again with Cineworld. No, and again in 2011 and 12. So I've been an Unlimited member, I think 3 different times. And I have done Limitless as well for a year when we lived in London. We used to go to the Kingston Odeon, which was hit and miss. Some of the screens were nice, some of them were not so much. But anyway, I'm assuming Screen Unseen is one of those kind of mystery screenings. It's a new film coming out. People go along and they just get surprised by what they see. And it was Celine Sciamma's latest film, Petite Maman. And I was just like, oh, this is nice. I'm going to see what people thought of it. And then I just started reading through all these comments and found out that a lot of people, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people walked out of this film. And now again, I have spent years defending a film like The Last Jedi. And when someone kind of shits over a film that I like, I don't take it personally, but I do like to kind of, if I feel like they're missing a point, to step in and say, well, actually, what you're saying there is just not really correct. For me, it's like, if you don't like a film, perfectly fine. And if everyone liked everything, then it would be a very boring hobby of enjoying films and talking about them, no less. The old phrase, if everything is awesome, then nothing is awesome, right? So, and it's fun to get people's, reactions and see how things worked for them or didn't work for them and stuff like that. That's what I love about reading about film, talking about film, writing about film, making videos about film. So, if someone was to say they really didn't like this film, I'd understand it, because it's a slow-paced film. And see, this is a film I want to review, and I was holding off, and I saw it last month, and I wanted to do a review. I was thinking maybe a video essay, because I really love this film so much, and I might write about it as well, so I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. But this is forcing my hand to kind of at least say, hey, I've seen it and I love it. So this isn't really going to be my review of the film, but I'm just going to scroll through these comments and just see what's going on. I've got a notification here. Okay, this is just... No one has liked my actual post, which was about this thread. So I recently watched Petite Maman, and it's now one of my all-time favorite films. True. The fucking replies in this thread and stories of many people walking out because their mystery screening was a French film is actually my legitimate villain origin story. Now, don't expect to be seeing my face in a newspaper anytime soon, but this has bothered me more than almost anything else. Again, the years of defending The Last Jedi from people who just didn't get it, this is just a whole other level. Because for me, it's such a disrespect to cinema. And that sounds like the wankiest thing in the world, but that is literally how I feel about this, because this isn't just people saying they didn't like it. This is people not even giving it a chance. This is people walking out of a movie that's an hour and 12 minutes long. I guess some people probably didn't know that. So let's just scroll through some of these replies here. They're all public, so I'm assuming whoever tweeted them, they're fine with it, being out there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have tweeted it. So I'm not going to go through the editing effort of blocking out anyone's names. And look, I would never kind of insult anyone based on their opinions of a film. If they don't like it, there's no reason to hurl abuse or anything like that. This isn't what this video is about whatsoever. But everyone who did walk out is a fucking idiot. All right, so now we've got that cleared up. So, lovely storytelling, beautiful substance. Narrow-minded people walking out upon the presentation of a French film. Oh well. Not exactly narrow-minded when Odeon hyped up the film, and also it's all subjective. Well, they hyped it up because it was a great film. I don't want to go through all the replies here because we would literally be here all night. Screen Unseen should help viewers to be more open-minded about a story, style, and/or language. If they don't like it, fine, each to their own. Give all film a chance, in my honest opinion. Yes, Andy, exactly. I mean, the thing that riles me about the stories of these walkouts in every single screening, I thought it was because I saw someone tweet about it, I thought it was maybe just one isolated incident, but it seems like everyone who went to see this, in every Odeon, there was people walking out of the film. And I was just like, what is going on here? And I'm assuming that the people who go to these things are film fans, right? I mean, I guess I can only assume that these are people who have the Limitless card and they go see all the Marvel movies and the big blockbusters, your Bonds and your Marvel films and stuff like that. And that's kind of the big thing for them. Maybe prestige kind of Oscar bait movies, not to kind of, belittle those, because most Oscar bait movies are excellent. They've been held back for a reason for the award season. But, I guess there is a kind of mainstream, I could see it being a mainstream point of view for a lot of people who have these Limitless cards and go to these screenings expecting to see maybe one of the big Oscar kind of race movies, especially near the end of the year, or seeing something that might be an early screening of something they're looking forward to seeing. This film, it's a French film. It's not a big movie, it's not a blockbuster, it's not mainstream, but it is great in my opinion, and worth seeing and worth showing to a wider audience, I think. And I feel like this was a perfect... And I give Odeon credit for choosing a film like this. I don't know how it came about, but I think it is great to kind of challenge people every now and again. Not that I even think a film like Petite Maman is challenging, really. It's, it's like Bong Joon-ho said at the Oscars. If you all would just get over that 2-inch barrier of subtitles, you'd be open to a much larger world of cinema. You literally had one of the great directors of recent memory, shy of pulling on a Jedi robe, saying you're about to take your first steps into a larger world, here's my Korean movie, and it just won the Oscar for best film and all this stuff. And one would think that might have turned the tide a little bit. Anyway, what a lovely little film. Thanks for showing something that we'd ordinarily not go to see in most cinemas. Exactly, really makes a Limitless pass worthwhile. Did lots of people leave at your screening? A lot did at mine. 11 from 52, which isn't the worst. But I still think 11 people walking out is crazy. Definitely not something I'd have chosen to watch. I'm glad for Screen Unseen, a sweet film. James, respect. But it almost shouldn't be a fact of me kind of having extra respect for these people, because you're a film fan. You're going to see a film. And yeah, the group of lads in front of me, their reactions when it showed up on screen will live with me forever. I think I did look at this one, and this person said that laughs of regret. They all walked out within 10 minutes. Well, they haven't got taste, and they're less sophisticated and don't like to be intellectually challenged with the tasks that are a foreign language film. I adore them and would love to have seen this, since I loved her impeccable last film portrait of a lady on fire. You see, again, I wouldn't say that like they haven't got taste, for walking out, and they're less sophisticated. They're just fucking idiots. I'm being mostly facetious there, mostly. What else we got here? The moment I didn't see a Spider-Man trailer, I knew it wasn't Ghostbusters. So maybe people thought this was going to be Ghostbusters, and I could understand, but I think the spirit of this shouldn't be like, I hope it's this big new film that's coming out. You should just go in, it's like going on a mystery trip, like don't think about it too much, just let it happen. Surely that's the fun of it, right? It's the mystery pick. It's like my Blu-ray roulette series. It's like you click random and there's a film out of 1,000. You've got to go with it, and that's the spirit of the thing, the fun of the thing. And to push yourself to watch something you might not have ordinarily gone to see. Not, I really hope it's Ghostbusters. Then just wait for Ghostbusters to come out and go see it, and not walk out because it's something you want to see, Okay, I think my cinema was full of people expecting Ghostbusters. The preview should have been a clue, but it wasn't. I enjoyed it even more once I got home and read a review. For some reason, I totally missed what it was really about. That's interesting. I'm not going to go into spoilers about the film, by the way, in this video, but yeah. So what else have we got here? Watched the first 5 minutes and walked out. Watching paint dry would have been more interesting than that. Your loss. Sorry, lads, I'm just not really into them kind of films. Find it hard to sit through a French film, even with subtitles. Well, I mean, you'd have to watch it with subtitles if you're not French, right? So I don't get that point. Just not really into them kind of films. Okay. Now again, I can understand. This is a slow-paced film. And there's a comment here that just really bothered me. It was something like, the film had zero plot. We'll get to it. And I just thought, are you kidding me? Like, it's all, well, I mean, there's a very distinct plot to this film. It's about this young girl whose grandmother has passed away, and her, along with her mother and father, have gone back to her grandmother's apartment and flat to clear everything away. It's a very mournful, kind of thing to do that most families have to go through if their parents have died, their grandparents have died, and they had a flat or a house, and you need to go in and kind of clear things up, depending on what the situation is, of course. It's a very sad thing to do. And this film is about how the young girl, the granddaughter, deals with this, and there's a very interesting kind of fantasy element that's played very seriously and realistically. So I'm not into them kind of films. He watched the first 5 minutes and walked out. The film hasn't really started then. The real kind of, it's not even a twist, but when the real meat of this story starts, that's not in the first 5 minutes, So you're not really giving it a full chance. I've only walked out of a film twice in my life in the cinema. No, 3 times. First one was Stargate. My nan took me to see something in the cinema and it wasn't showing, and I was really disappointed. So we went to see Stargate instead, and I hated it. I'm sure it's a good film, but I was very young. We left halfway through. The second one was Spider-Man 2. My mum was texting me furiously to come home because I hadn't done the dishes, and I wanted to just scream. And I should have just stayed there, to be honest. I don't know why I kind of, I was 16. I should have just been a rebel, but I just went home fuming. And then my mum felt bad and took me to go see Spider-Man 2 a few days later, and I watched it. And then the third time was Cosmopolis, 2012, I think a film came out. Loved the trailer for that. Me and Connie went to see it, and we just hated it. We were there. We gave it a good 50 minutes. Like we just kept looking at each other. I'm just like, I'm really. And she's like, I'm just leave and go watch Red Lights, which we did, and it was a good film, even though the projector was out of focus. I remember that detail from almost 10 years ago. But, what I feel like you need to give a film a chance. But for me, I don't want to say I'm very selective, but I am. I'm selective about the films I watch. Like, I know what I like, and I like to push myself out of my comfort zone, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I know what I'm getting myself into, when I pick a film to watch, I suppose. So it's difficult for me to judge in that sense, and I don't think you should look down on people who don't watch a wider range of films than you do. I don't think that's really a valid criticism of anyone's film watching, habits, but it's just, for me, usually there's an actor in it I like, or there's a director that I like, or it's a genre that I like, or a story that I like, or I've read something about it, or a friend has told me something. There's usually a motivating factor for every film I watch that means I'll watch it all the way through. I'm not about to stick on an Adam Sandler film and think, well, this could be really good. And it's not like I really dislike him, but his films mostly aren't for me. That being said, this is a complete random aside. I turned the TV on when I was going to bed the other night, and it was That's My Boy, I think, with Adam Sandberg. Ridiculous plot of Adam Sandler. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it. I just kept on in the background, and I genuinely laughed a few times and felt almost guilty about it. But I didn't finish watching it because I don't really care. You know what I mean? So, but going to the cinema, I feel like there's a commitment to that, and you should give it a shot. I almost wish when they showed this in Odeon, they should have said, "Look, guys, it's 72 minutes. It's only an hour and 10 minutes of your time. Just give it a chance." But I'm sure they, like I wouldn't have, assumed that there would be mass walkouts over this film. I enjoyed it. Needed 20 more minutes of plot and a bit more drama. I disagree. I think that the impact in the film is what makes it so brilliant, because it's in all these subtle details. There are 4 moments in the film that absolutely punch me in the gut emotionally, and they're 4 fairly subtle beats, and that's where the film operates at its best. And I think that's where Celine Sciamma operates at her best, is these subtle moments, a glance, a kind of a sparse line of dialogue that doesn't quite say it as it is, but it kind of, if you're really into it, it just hits you, and it's a bit more earned, I think, than, because again, I look at some films and I think if I'd written that, I would have gone really overly sentimental or something, and Celine Sciamma just nails it in like 4 or 5 words, and it's like, fuck, that's a much better way of putting it, and then it registers more, because you're not thinking about a line that's maybe a bit overwrought, and you just, things are so much more powerful, I think, when you leave the audience with a little bit of wanting a little bit more of a line of dialogue, and I don't want to go into specifics with this film exactly, but instead of saying, well, da 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 da, and that's the emotional line of the film, and going da 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 da, and it still has resonance because of the way it's written, and you can read more into that, and you can think about that more, and it can linger in your mind, and that kind of the clicking moment or the gut punch can kind of come out of your own imagination, and I just like that stuff a lot, and that's one of the things the film does so well. That being said, I would have loved another 20 minutes, because I love the interaction between these 2 young girls. The young girl meets a girl in the woods who looks very similar to her. That's all I'll say. Just to make it clear in advance, it's not going to be a blockbuster, so I don't have to hear the heavy doors slamming shut after 30 plus walkouts. Make it clear in advance, it's not going to be a blockbuster, so I don't have to hear the heavy doors slamming shut after... Yeah, that's interesting, I suppose. I don't know whether you... And this Paul says, screen unseen movies are never blockbuster movies anyway. They're usually films that need word of mouth exposure. The only exception was Free Guy, and even that wasn't based on the original IP. If people go into the screen unseen expecting the newest Marvel movie, then more fool them. Likes chance to see films that don't reach a multiplex. It's the cinema staff that has to deal with the refunds as soon as the film starts, I feel sorry for. Well, is it not a limitless exclusive thing, so perhaps refunds wouldn't be even applicable? I'm not entirely sure. But again, I'm not sure if it is a limitless exclusive thing, or whether you do pay to go to this kind of mystery screening. I kind of get that, but at the same time, I feel like if you go into a mystery screening, you should know the drill, basically. And you should be willing to give a film a chance, and not walk out the minute you see shock horror that it's not a fucking film in the English language. Charlotte says, enjoyed it, as wouldn't have been something I would have chosen to see normally. That's great. Lots of people left our showing upon seeing what it was, the remainder of us shouting au revoir to those leaving each film. Leaving each time was quite entertaining. That is fantastic. I love that. I wish I'd done this to the quitters in my showing. See, people talk. It's like all the showings this happened. You know, something I never would have chosen, and I did stay to the end. But we did have a few walkouts, and I don't blame them. It had some moments, but was boring on the whole. Films like that best left to streaming. Fuck. I just films like that best left to streaming. See, that is the mentality of like the big screen experience is made for blockbusters only. I completely disagree with that mentality. Lewis says, lovely film, really moving story about friendship and grief. Yes. I would add more to that, but wouldn't want to spoil anything. I feel sorry for all the lazy people who up and left who don't like subtitled movies. Fucking A. I mean, lazy is right, you know. And the the one guy snoring at the back. See, there you go. Were you at Mary Hill too, or did we all find ourselves with a snorer? No, but it looks like they were everywhere. We had a snorer in Coventry too. What is wrong with these people? How could you fall asleep to a film that's not even like an hour and 20 minutes long? Like, Jesus Christ. Not very keen at all. Didn't totally understand it. Disappointed. I can vibe with that a bit more than saying it was, you know, it needed more plot or whatever. Fair enough. 22 people leave. I don't know what these people are like counting it down to, like down to the single, like, you know, 11 out of 52. Like, did you really do a head count? Like, you know, 22 people leave. They missed a great film. Saw it online a few weeks ago. I was very pleased to see it on the big screen. Yeah, I would love to see it on the big screen. I don't know whether I'll get the chance to over this like busy Christmas period now, but yeah. This film is proof why I will never be a cinephile. It's not because it's foreign. Another Round, A Son, Bacurau, and Beast Clawing at Straws are on my top 10 of 2020. It's because I was not invested at all. The pace was definitely an issue for me, even if I liked the third act. Again, I would. Well, no, I don't agree with that. I would understand why people would have a problem with the pacing of Petite Maman, because it's a slow-paced film. Even though it's like an hour and 10 minutes, it is kind of, it takes its time, and it's all about the subtle details, and it's a quiet film, you know. And that's what's so brilliant about it, is that it has this fantastical element to it that is dealt with in such a matter-of-fact fashion. And you have these two young kids who are experiencing this very incredible thing. And they're kids, so they're just kind of going along with it. You know, they're not really stopping to question it too much or too deeply, which allows Celine Sciamma to explore that kind of idea of a story so much more openly than if they were adults. Because if they were adults, then you would have, I don't know, I feel like there'd be a lot more questions, you know. And while these kids are inquisitive, I think that there's more of just an acceptance of the situation they're in, and you just get to see them, you know, their kind of friendship kind of blossom and stuff. But I disagree that this is the proof of why I will never be a cinephile. If you love films, I would say you're a cinephile. I don't think the fact that you don't like a foreign film, that's fine. That's completely valid. You know, I mean, you know, he's I don't know if it's a he or a her. He's trying to kind of defend themselves, saying that all these foreign films are in my top 10 of the last year. You know, so a film just doesn't click with you. You know, if you want to be called a cinephile because you love films, then you are. You know, pretty much. It doesn't. I mean, I would say you could call yourself a cinephile and say that you don't like any foreign films, but maybe that'd be a bit of a stretch in terms of being accepting of someone. Like, you know, if you watch foreign films from all over the world in lots of different eras and you don't like any of them, then I don't want to say maybe you don't love films, but, you know, there might be a bit of an issue there because we're talking about some of the greatest films ever made. But there's such a variety of them, that's the point. Rachel says slow start, but it picked up with some lovely, touching, and funny moments. Great performances from the sisters, yes. I've learnt with Limitless to try different film genres as it expands your knowledge. I watch foreign language films but may not have seen this if not on screen unseen. There you go, that's a great kind of championing of doing this and showing a film like this at a mystery screening. I've been to most of them and watched some brilliant films, but tonight I just didn't fancy Petite Maman. So first time ever, I left and instead watched Eternals. To be honest though, that wasn't great. I think you made a mistake, Warren. I really do think you made a mistake. But then again, if you didn't fancy it, you didn't fancy it. But I I can't abide people walking out of a film. I don't know, man. Like, and it's kind of like, it's almost like Just Desserts. Like, he had a, what I think is a great film that's an hour and 10 minutes long. Went to go see a Marvel movie that is more than twice the length of it and didn't enjoy it anyway. So, kind of brought that on yourself in a way. I saw a couple of people guess this, no idea what it is. Guessing artsy crap. That doesn't deserve a comment. It was a very sweet movie. Shame on those who didn't give it a chance just because it wasn't Ghostbusters or House of Gucci, or because it was a foreign movie. I agree. I applaud you for showing this at all. But you can't really force a film like this on a regular audience, no matter how good. They won't accept it, and tonight voted with their feet. Screen Unseen usually do show little movies, but little and subtitled might be a push for some. That is, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to be individually offensive to people or insult people individually, but that guy's a fucking idiot. So, I don't know, man. It's just like, you can't really force a film like this on a regular audience. It's not forcing it on a regular audience. You sign up to go see a mystery film, You need to be accepting of the fact that that can be pretty much anything, right? I mean, I'm assuming that Screen Unseen is a new release film. It's not going to be a classic or anything, or an older movie, but you sign up for it, And people are saying that some of these films are smaller films when they do the mystery screening, so, they won't accept it, and tonight voted with their feet. Well, a lot of people didn't, and stayed, and enjoyed it, so it's, I don't think you should appeal to the vocal minority on things like that. Different but interesting and nice story. Not something I'd have gone to if it was a normal showing, but happy to see them bring something a little unusual. That's cool. Well, I was a bit miffed. About 16 people walked out from the title reveal up till about 40 minutes in. I stayed, I enjoyed, was different. Was hoping for House of Matalan, but hey ho. Okay. I'm assuming that meant House of Gucci. No, I stayed, I enjoyed it, was different. Interesting. There's a few comments that people got up at the title reveal, like seeing the French title, Peter Griffin done, and he's gone. A beautifully moving film by a masterful director with excellent central performances, marred only slightly at Lincoln Odeon by the number of idiots leaving, some taking too long to clear off, and some looking at phones while making their bloody minds up to do so. I just enjoyed it. Slow burn, lots walked out. Only 72 minutes long. Could have been 20 minutes longer, but a sweet film. Again, people expecting for House of Gucci or Ghostbusters. Judging by the amount of people on Google when the title came up, probably 50% of people leaving after 10 minutes nipped into the next screen and probably caught Bond. Yes. Sweet, thoughtful film, well acted by the younger leads. Understandably not for everyone. Almost half the audience left, but perfect alternative to recent blockbusters. Glad I caught it. Slow but soon picked up. I'm so glad my boyfriend did come. It was an okay film, and whilst I wouldn't have chosen it, it was a nice, sweet film. See, that's another thing. For me, I think it is one of my favourite films of all time. I just love everything about it. I absolutely adore it. It's so sweet and charming and emotional, and speaks to so much about family relationships and grief, and it almost gives me little butterflies thinking about it again, some of those moments. But I also understand that some people would just view it as a nice, sweet little film. And I watched it with Connie, and she didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as me, but I really loved talking about it with her, and us discussing the things that worked for us and the things that she didn't like so much or whatever. And yeah, so I'm so glad my boyfriend didn't come. Probably in the minority, but I was pleasantly surprised. Beautiful, moving film. Thank you, Odeon. Yes, very lovely film. Yes, lots of 5 stars. Very cool. Lovely, charming film. I enjoyed it. No one left the screening. Huzzah! we got one screening where people didn't walk out. I mean, that's some hope for humanity. I was ready to just write everyone off. Wonderful film, very subtle and moving, with a playful glee to it. I would agree with that statement. The 2 young actors were incredible. As always, I'm glad with the opportunity to get to see a movie like this at a multiplex. That's another thing. This is the kind of film that you're not really going to see at a big, multiplex, as they call it. It feels like more of an art house cinema kind of. You see them in the smaller screens and things. It was a terrible movie. The worst thing I've seen since Terror of Bigfoot Pond. At least that made me laugh. The only good thing about it was the runtime, nice and short. The worst thing I've seen. I'm assuming this person has seen about 6 movies. Just settling in to enjoy the comments. An idea completed at half pace, very little story, meh ending. I thought the ending was phenomenal. I loved how the film ended. Because if you've seen it, it's like you question at the end when the girl's there with her mother and you think like, does the mother know? Did she remember? You know, and Celine reveals that without saying it, and it took me a while to click, and I thought, oh my god, that was such a brilliant way to do it. 40% left during. My guess is many of those knew that Free Guy was the last film and hoped for similar. Also, apparently Free Guy was the last Screen Unseen film. Would have preferred Ghostbusters or Gucci, but thought it was decent enough. Bit short and didn't have much of an ending. It just kind of stopped. I completely disagree. I think that it told this very specific number of days in which these two girls kind of had this friendship, and then that friendship came to the kind of natural end point, and the clearing out of the apartment had finished, and then we kind of reach an emotional resolution with the young girl and her mother. It had a complete ending as far as I'm concerned. I would say something like Earwig and the Witch, the recent Studio Ghibli film, kind of just stopped and didn't have a third act. But had to cancel my ticket because I'm ill, kind of gutted about it now. I hope the movie gets released in the cinemas near me when it comes out. Really enjoyed it. Sweet and meaningful film about friendship and family. Don't know anything of the story and wondered if I'd enjoy it. Turns out I enjoyed it thoroughly. Just here for the comments. I mean, it was okay. Very French for even a French film. Good cinematography, short and sweet. Looking forward to the next one. Yeah, I believe it's Claire... I forget her last name, unfortunately, but it's the same woman who did the cinematography for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and she also shot Spencer, so she's a great cinematographer. The locals in mind were expecting Ghostbusters House of Gucci, so many walked out. I'll just stop reading those because it's kind of... that seems very obvious at this point. Only 2 people left my screening, so that's a win. I really enjoyed it. You didn't invent my sadness. Yes. Oof, what a line. Perfect way to start the week. Always interesting when it's a complete unknown. I thought it was a lovely little film. Refund demands. Loved it. Short and very sweet. Just so lovely. Feel like I've just been given a warm hug. Yep, that's kind of the vibe that I got from the film too. There we go. 0 plot. Definitely boring. Had some Haribo. 0 plot. Fuck. Just think there are people out there who actually, are able to walk out and interact with people. Can see a film like that and come to the conclusion that it has 0 plot. See, that's what bugs me, is when people try to act like they know what they're talking about, You could definitely boring, completely valid. To say it has 0 plot is just totally inaccurate. Like, you're entitled to an opinion, but you're entitled to your informed opinion. And if you were informed, you would realize the film has a plot. The fact that you find it boring is fine, but to say that it doesn't have a plot is just completely inaccurate and bollocks. Steve says absolutely fantastic, a charming little gem, beautiful movie. I still can't believe it. I enjoyed it, loved it, love this movie. Now it's starting to feel like there are bots. It's very great. Apart from the uncultured swine that left early, I found the film thoroughly enjoyable. A tale I'm sure many people would have liked the opportunity to have had. I know, like, you imagine that kind of story, and it's like, well, I'm not going to say which film because it'll spoil it, but it's like the, no, yeah, I'm not going to say it, but if you've seen the film and you know of the story, it is something where you kind of drop into a fantasy of like, what if I would have been able to do that when I was a kid? How would that have felt, and what would that experience have been like? It's like a nice thing to think about. Stacey wasn't impressed, stayed for a bit and left. I've seen Shape of Water, Vice, and many more on Screen Unseen, but for me this was a bit too niche, but just my opinion. There's a massive middle ground between this film and blockbusters. I would partially agree, for sure, in terms of there's a massive middle ground between this film and blockbusters, but at the same time, well, no, I guess I do agree, to be honest, but, not impressed, stayed for a bit and left. I mean, not really letting the film really sit with you, the fact that it's a bit slow-paced, I mean, I don't know. Do people just not have attention spans? I mean, I'd understand if it was like a Bellatar film, you know, and they sat there for 5 hours watching cows move across the field very slowly, and like, you know, well, not much is happening in the past 4 hours. Then yeah, all right, leave. That's more valid, I think. But a film like this, which, you know, it's slow paced, but it's not like it really lingers too much on any one scene. There's lots of little scenes. I actually think the pacing is very good, but you know, the story itself, or the pace of the scenes themselves is very leisurely. Too much Americanisms pop into my head, but you know, the actual scenes themselves play out with a lot of breathing room. But the actual, like, scene by scene, it really rattles along and packs a lot into that 72-minute running time. So, you know, it's just such a shame. It's a sadness, as David Lynch would say. It's a sadness that people have gone to this screen unseen mystery screening, have watched 5 minutes of a film, and think that they've seen the movie and have judged that they don't like it, because you just haven't. You know, you just haven't. It's like listening to like the opening bars of a song, going, no, that's shit. That doesn't do anything for me, before you've even heard the lyrics. Those lyrics could speak to you. Those lyrics could change your life. You know, it's a far kind of long shot, but it's possible. You know, there are very moving and meaningful lyrics that kind of, you know, move you and kind of give you perspective on things in your life in songs. And if you were to just judge how maybe the intro is a bit meh, you know, and you just turned it off, then you'd never know, you know. And I feel like that's what people are doing here by turning the film off after 5 minutes, in which we don't really get into the film then. It's kind of just, it's laying the groundwork for this girl going back to her grandmother's vacant flat. Absolutely fantastic. Shame you don't make it a habit to show original films and instead fill your screens with the same old Americanized crap. Okay, so no comments on my tweet or likes or anything. I was just checking to see if there was any kind of reactions to what I had tweeted out, but we got some quote tweets, so let's just look at those as well. Fair play to Odeon for showing Petite Maman in their Screen Unseen. Saw it last week as part of the is it London Film Festival. It's a great film and I hope people gave it a chance tonight. A lot did not. Reading the comments on this post when they show a foreign film is akin to self-harm. Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with that kind of dark humor. That doesn't really mean that, but yeah, it got into my skin. There's my one there. No, first the French Dispatch wasn't played in my area, and now the new Celine Sciamma is hidden behind a screen unseen. I doubt this will even be given any showings whatsoever near me. Yeah, I hope it will. I hope it gets more of a... I think it's supposed to come out near the end of the month, or maybe next week, in certain places. I loved it, but I've never seen so many walkouts. It separates the real film fans from the casuals. I hate to use the term real film fans, but when we're talking about people who will sign up to go to a mystery screening of a film and sit down and watch it and judge it afterwards, they're film fans. People who sign up for and go to see a mystery screening of a film and walk out after 5 minutes when they realize that shock horror, there's going to be subtitles that they're going to have to read, they're casuals. I mean, that is just the way it is, you know. And in a way, I almost don't blame them, because it's I'm not going to continue that train of thought because it would have been really insulting, but it is tricky, because I really am trying, the older I get, to not be so reactionary. And look at this whole fucking video is reactionary, but you know, I try not to lash out and be insulting to people, but you know, I think calling them casuals, filthy casuals, is more just an accurate statement than an insult. Not heard of this, but it seems really interesting. I'll definitely give it a watch. Part of me wishes I'd have got a ticket. Part of me wishes I'd have got a ticket tonight, but I know I'd have hated being in a full cinema. You think seasoned cinema goers would behave better, but usually isn't the case. Yeah. Well done, Odeon, for showing it, says Amy, and giving it exposure to those who may not have checked it out on a regular run. Cineworld, why did you not just do an unlimited screening of any capacity for this? Yeah, with Cineworld, the unlimited screening is announced ahead of time. I've been to a few of those. Game nights was a incredibly fun experience. Petite Maman, a film that is short, sweet, and very effective. Full review later. So, yeah. I had to express my dismay at all of this. Like, I couldn't... Yeah, I don't know. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to get my piece said. Have a bit of a rant. And that's pretty much it, I suppose. You mean all films not in English should be just get booted to Netflix just because they have subtitles and smaller budgets? I didn't click on this one. I see you're quick to point to judge my comments, so clarification. Slow or, on the whole, boring films in general, I feel should not be on the big screen. Well, boring is a subjective statement, so I don't think you can say that films classified as boring shouldn't be shown on a big screen, because who's making that kind of... that differentiation, because then we're just treating art objectively, and that's not really possible or right. I've seen plenty of English and American films as well, which I felt should have been on streaming and not on the big screen. That was one of those comments, like, hey, no. I'm not against foreign films. I even dislike English movies. Okay. It was just not my pacing, which made me bored most of the time. Everyone has different tolerance levels, and clearly yours is better than mine when it came to this film. Nothing to do with the fact that it was French. That's valid enough, And I do think that the guy who said, you mean all films not in English should just get booted to Netflix because they have subtitles and smaller budgets. And the guy said something I would have never chosen. I did stay to the end, but we had a few walkouts. Yeah, it was the film's best left to streaming. Yeah, I just disagree with that wholeheartedly. But I do think this was maybe a bit of an overreaction, so I understand this guy's point. Rachel says, exactly, I finally watched another round on Prime, and it was just amazing. His emotions were breathtaking. It needed to be seen on the big screen. Unfortunately, with just 2 screenings, I missed out. So it's not just blockbusters that deserve a big screen. I'm a fan of all films. Yeah, I agree. Seeing a film in a cinema isn't just about like the big screen experience. It isn't just like big, lights and light shows and explosions and effects and blockbuster movies. It's very small, intimate films. One of my favorite cinema experiences were going to see Boyhood in 2014. And it wasn't showing very much, and it was when I lived in Norway, and they showed it up in the top level of the cinema in the city in Trondheim, and it was a very small screening room, and Connie was like, ugh, because when she goes to the cinema, she wants to see the big screen. But it was a nice small screening room. It's packed in tight, very intimate, and perfect for that kind of film. And it was just a wonderful, warm, cozy experience, and getting to share that with other people, wordlessly. There is just something about that collective experience, especially when people are into it, and you don't get a lot of idiots who are just rustling their wrappers and stuff. Which is, I could rattle on for hours about idiots in the cinema who don't really pay much respect to the film or the people around them. More importantly, with being loud or checking their phones and looking on their phones and stuff. That's a whole other thing. But I don't think that big films or blockbusters should be the only things that we go to see in the cinema. I certainly wouldn't feel like, man, if only Boyhood was released in IMAX. It's not that kind of film, But nice to see it on a big screen and everything. But it's sometimes it's not all about the big screen. Sometimes it's about going out, and maybe now more than ever. Obviously be careful and everything, but it's going out. It's kind of getting a ticket. It's getting a snack or just going inside in this dark room. And a kind of picture quality and a sound experience that you're just not going to get at home unless you've got like a professional home theater kitted out, which is possible, but not it's not common. But also you sit down and you watch the film. There's no pausing it, no checking your phone. It's all too easy in today's day and age where you and I'm completely and totally guilty of it. Where you're watching a film, I'm just going to pause it and go get a snack. I'm just going to pause it and just check something up on IMDb. I'm just going to pause it and just go and put the bins out, whatever. And sometimes films are strong enough that it can withstand you pausing every now and then, but some films maybe not so much. And ideally, you should just watch a film from start to finish. And being in a cinema helps that. I know that's not the original intent of a cinema, is to kind of cater to people whose attentions will be drawn away at home, because when cinema was born, there was no such thing as watching a film at home, unless you had a projector, I suppose, and whatever. But it was born as this kind of collective experience, and just kind of adapted from that kind of very lengthy and kind of history-filled experience of going to the theatre to see plays and things like that. And it was just an adaptation of the theatre experience, but just people watching a screen and seeing something that had been created in a moving image in a way that is replicated and kind of preserved. In the case of theatre, you're getting kind of a different performance every night, but with film, it's this one thing that everyone can see, and it's all the same, which makes it more interesting than when you have different opinions and stuff. I'm going way off track here, but the cinema experience is not just about big blockbusters. It certainly helps, and I must admit, most of the time when I go to the cinema, it is one of those films. But I wouldn't be averse to, if I had the time, to go and see films like Petite Maman in the cinema. Oh, I'd love to. If I had the time and the means, I would go to the cinema, like I used to, multiple times a week, and just see whatever I could. But we'll draw this to a close here, because I've definitely beleaguered the point, but I just had to register the unbelievable levels of what the fuckness over that. And while we're here, just because I just noticed it's in the bottom right of the screen, Jared Gilman. I've been following this guy because his film tweets have been cracking me up. He did this massive thread where he watched the whole of Twin Peaks: The Return, in one sitting. So Graham, if you're watching, it counts. And it was a brilliant little thread. And then I only realized at the end of it, like I was just looking at his profile again, I was like, oh, it's like the kid in Moonrise Kingdom. I just thought he was some random guy on Twitter, but I thought his tweets were really funny. So if you like Twin Peaks, go check out Jared's Twitter account and read through his very lengthy thread on The Return, which is very enjoyable to me. So I'll leave it there. If you haven't seen Petite Maman and you're interested, I would recommend going to see it if you can, if it's out anywhere. If there is a local screening you can go to, I think it is a film you should see in the cinema. It is only 72 minutes long. It isn't boring, in my opinion, and I think that it's a very powerful film, and I would imagine that especially people who have kids, this would really resonate. But even just I was gonna say people who have parents. We all have parents, but if you got parents, and you have, because every single person in the world does, whether you're with them or not, whether they're still with you or not, I think you can relate to the way parents are portrayed in this film as much as children are as well. I just think Celine Sciamma is freakishly talented. I'm going to try and watch all of her other films now. I watched Water Lilies, her first film, a couple of weeks ago, and I'd seen it when on TV about 12 years ago, and I'd seen about the second half of it, so I was glad to finally see it in full, and it's just a brilliant film, So the other two I've got to watch are Tomboy and Girlhood. So those two have a lot to live up to in terms of the other three films I've seen of hers, which I absolutely loved. But this one is just, it's special. It really resonated with me, and I'd love to talk more about it, but I don't want to go into spoilers or anything. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'm sure just listening at this point, but it just had to be said. It had to be said. Excuse me for the suppressed burps. Again, I was not planning on making a video tonight. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I just wanted to edit my Dune review and get that out there finally, because that's another really long video as well. And I say that in that one as well. I feel like I've had this like weird YouTube shift where I'm not really making regular videos, and every time I sit down in front of a camera, it's like, God, I've almost forgotten how to do this. And then I just rattle on for like a fucking hour about some shit. And I've just become this long form, weirdo. Anyway, right, I'm just like spiraling off. This whole video is going off the tracks very quickly. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Again, if you're on the fence about a film that has subtitles in it, I would recommend, and you love films, I would recommend just watching foreign films and getting used to subtitles, because honestly, it doesn't take that long to get used to, and it's very easy. Like, I don't want to say that in case, like, some people do genuinely struggle, whether they might have, I don't know. Because everyone's different, right? But for me, there's nothing, like, I don't feel like I miss anything, really. Maybe a few subtle inflections of a character's face just as I'm scanning through, but I read very quickly, you know, and I almost do that thing where you almost read the full sentence and you don't really read it out loud in one go, but your brain kind of picks up the important parts and pieces it together. That's kind of the thing I do, I think, because it's very, what's the term? It's fluid. I don't know how you would say this. It's an intuition thing. I don't know how to say that as it's an intuition thing. I don't know, but yeah, it feels like it's intuitus. It's an intuitus thing. I think that is a word for me, where it just you know, at no point do I ever catch myself just looking at the subtitles. You know, it just kind of all flows very smoothly for me. So some people might struggle with that, and I understand, but it goes to Squid Game, which everyone and their dog was talking about over the past couple of months, and more than one person I know in real life who I spoke to were like, "Oh yeah, Squid Game's amazing. The English dubbing is a bit. The English voices are a bit rubbish though," and I'm like, getting the old Ironside theme going off in my head, like, just watch it in the Korean, read the subtitle. My sister was like, "Oh, I don't like reading subtitles," and I'm just like, "Fucking throttle you." Like, come on. It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard to read subtitles, for fuck's sake. Anyway, rant over. Petite Maman is a fantastic film. It's my number one film of the year. I don't see anything topping it at this point, which is really interesting because the Billie Eilish documentary was at my number one for most of the year, and I wasn't sure if anything was going to top it, but this one definitely has. And there's been a few really good films I've seen over the past couple of weeks as well, so it's starting to ramp up now with some of the later films coming out, and I'm trying to get to some of them. Didn't get to see Venom 2, which I'm fine with. I really want to see the new Bond film, but that's proving difficult at the moment because it's a 3-hour movie, and you know, time is very scarce for me at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, because I could just ramble and ramble on like Jimmy Page. So thank you for watching, and I will see you mercifully, hopefully, in the next one. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Subscribe if you feel like it. I don't really aggressively plug my channel or anything, and certainly right now is a down period where I'm sporadically posting videos, but yeah. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, tough shit, I'm probably going to do it again. I felt like it was really petty to do this, but I just had to. I needed that release, and I feel better already, because I couldn't just sit there and read that and just feel my blood boiling without just expressing my disagreement with so much of it. But there was common ground I found in more of it than I thought I would, now that I actually had the added pressure of putting the camera on it and actually thinking about things. But for the most part, a lot of idiots who just left. So yeah, and I promise this is the last thing. Memorable walkouts or people leaving the cinema for me. One was The Two Towers when that came out, 19 years ago. There was a drunk in the front just shouting at the screen, and eventually we got him kicked out and we all cheered, and it was very fun to finally see the back of that guy who's ruining the film. Team America, World Police. A guy, I swear on anything you want me to swear on, like, that is meaningful to me in my life, I would swear on it. A man in a trench coat got up and left the minute the puppet sex scene was finished. I promise you that is true. And also someone left during that film after. There's a scene where there's like maybe a tsunami or a tidal wave, and some bodies are like washed up. Puppet bodies, obviously, but this was just after a big tsunami that had happened, a big disaster, a natural disaster, and someone left after that, was obviously offended. And then there was something else. I went to see Dumbo, the live-action Dumbo, and a woman had brought her young child who was just crying constantly, and it was so uncomfortable, and no one really wanted to say anything until someone did just go out and speak to a member of staff and say, this woman is not really doing anything, and the child just keeps crying, we're all uncomfortable. So the staff member came in and said, like, maybe it's best if you leave because it's kind of disturbing the screening. And she was just like, I'm not leaving. And the baby's just screaming at this point, and it was just the worst. I need to watch the first 20 minutes of Dumbo again because it completely ruined it. And eventually she got up and made a big fuss about it and how unfair it was. But I mean, when your kid's crying, like, just take the L and leave. Like, I all due respect to parents and everything, but it's chance it, sure. Maybe the baby enjoys it or stays quiet enough for you to watch the film. But when they start crying and stuff, and it's been a long time, you need to call an audible and just leave. But she was, almost dragged out kicking and screaming. I think if she didn't have a child with her, she would have been kicking and screaming, but she made such a fuss of it, and it was so... I was just embarrassed for her. Like I just thought, can you not understand how you're coming across? Because it would just... I would die of embarrassment if I was doing that in public. Anyway, so on that note, thank you for watching. This really is the end of the video. I will mercifully see you in the next one. Goodbye.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.